Welcome to Yeadon Community News, your independent source for Yeadon Community News.
Yeadon Community News brings you this breaking update. Yeadon Community News has learned the details of the arrest of Council President John Holden. He has been charged with theft as an official and bribery. Both are felonies and punishable by up to 7 years in prison. Apparently earlier this year, a code enforcement officer tagged a car owned by Holden as abandoned, and subsequently it was towed by the township's contract towing service company, Sepal Collision. It was a few months later that council started to discuss contracting with another company. At a council meeting on July 19th, according to reports on the affidavit, Holden stated that he had heard of issues regarding the towing company from residents, and even had had trouble with them himself. A few weeks later, according to Sepal, Holden stated that, quote, racial complaints, unquote, about the towing company was the reason for the borough to look for another company. When pressed for details, Holden could provide none, and when asked what it would take to make the whole thing go away and whether or not it had to do with his car, it's reported that Holden said, quote, it's not about the car. I can get the car from anybody. You know what has to be done, but I can't say it, unquote. Now, if true, this just makes an ugly situation even uglier. Using racism to extort and exact revenge is bad enough, but when it's done by a public official, it reaches new lows and calls for the full measure of justice to be served with the longest allowable punishments. I would assert that a, quote, hate crime, unquote, tag should be attached to this alleged crime. True racism is an evil and ugly stain on the face of humanity, and using racism to defame and extort is equal to shouting fire in a crowded theater, in my opinion. When someone uses the claim of racism in a totally false and premeditated, self-serving fashion, as Mr. Holden is alleged to have done, it deserves an added punishment, just as if it were a true hate crime. Adding to my concern, in researching this, I discovered that Holden oversaw a change in council rules, making only one signature required on the borough's checkbook. Notably, it was not his name required. Now, this gives great cause for pause and concern, and calls for more citizen watchdogs over the council and the borough hall itself. For its part, Yeadon Borough Council issued a statement that reads in part, quote, the members of the Yeadon Borough Council are obviously very concerned about last evening's events. However, it is a matter that will be handled by the justice system and rule of law. Goes on to say, Council will make every effort to ensure that this issue does not distract from providing the efficient municipal services that Yeadon residents expect, unquote. Calls to the mayor and messages to council members from Yeadon Community News went unanswered at the time of this report. Online reports say that Holden came up with the $7,000 figure on Tuesday. Quote, let's do it now, but not right here, unquote, was Holden's alleged response when asked if he wanted the initial payment right then and there by Sepal, who went to the authorities. It was on Wednesday, after police intercepted phone calls between Holden and Sepal, that Holden was arrested for accepting $1,000 of the $7,000 alleged bribe. A loaded Smith & Wesson .40 caliber handgun was in Holden's possession at the time of his arrest. So far, all reports on this scandal are from authorities and court documents. None of the participants have spoken to the media or have made public statements. With the understanding that all persons are innocent until proven guilty, it is important that Mr. Holden is given a chance to state his side. The state has given its statement. Now it's time for Mr. Holden to give his. Yeadon Community News offers Mr. Holden the opportunity to offer his statement in the form of an interview or written statement that we would share. We look forward to hearing from him on this matter. Otherwise, we will all have to wait until August 17th when he is officially arraigned and has a chance to offer his plea and response in court. It is hoped, however, that being an elected official, Mr. Holden will offer up some form of statement before August the 17th. In an attempt to resolve this public matter of confidence and trust that has rocked both the borough and the council chambers itself. Yeadon Community News reminds residents that no person convicted of crimes like this are allowed to hold public office. In the meantime, Mr. Holden cannot be thrown off of council, nor can he be forced to resign. However, it is within the power of council to appoint another president of the borough council in the meantime. It is highly suggested that it do so. Who it should be is questionable, but it is suggested that it not be someone who voted to impose a local income tax on residents or who approved of the loan signatory on the borough's checkbook. Just a thought. Yeadon Community News can be reached for questions, comments, or concerns on Facebook or Twitter at Yeadon News. Or our email is yeadoncommunitynews, one word, @yahoo.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll update when we have more.
Yeadon Community News, your independent source for news and information.